Hello again, Old St. Mary's faculty. This is part 3 of the video training series for the Introduction to RM Easy Teach. This is not the last video by any means, but this will kind of bring together what we did in the first and the second videos for you. By now, hopefully, you've had a chance to reach through and see some of the plugins, some of the widgets. You've also probably had a chance to take a look at how to make shapes, how to add text, how to add images. So we're going to continue building off of what we did in part 2 here by the shapes, the text, and the images. And I'm going to show you 4 very simple, very basic lessons that you can use across a wide variety of grade levels and subjects and things like that. So here we go. You'll notice that I already have for you the just an introductory slide, right? This is a Tagxedo for those of you that remember that little trick there. If you're not sure of what a Tagxedo is, you can find that at tagxedo.com, and certainly Stephanie over there at Old St. Mary's would be able to help you out with that. So let's move to slide 2. Okay, and if, by the way, you're not sure how to navigate slides back and forth, just like in a PowerPoint, you can move back a slide, forward a slide. If you'd like to see all your slides, if you'd like to preview the slides that you have, you can actually tap on the number right there, and that'll bring up your overall slide view. And so you can see, I have 6 slides, but I have 1, 2, 3, 4 little mini lessons that I'd like to demonstrate here for you. And the first one is called Conversation Starters. I think I demoed this one back at Old St. Mary's, but I'll take you through it again. Sometimes you are having a conversation about a topic, and you just want to structure the conversation so that you're sure that you have all the topics covered that you want to. At the beginning of a school year, sometimes when you don't know the students, they don't know you. Particularly in the upper grade levels, this can be a challenge trying to get a conversation started. And so what this is a very nice way of making that happen. In this case, I'm taking a conversation that you might have at the beginning of the year about honesty, about bullying, about friendship, about compassion, that kind of thing. And so you have student number 1 that says, I'm really not feeling like myself today because my friends made fun of me at lunch. And you can ask your class, what are the possible responses to that? And here are some of the responses that we have. Response number 1 is, and I'll ask a student to come up and drag one of those pieces of text in there. It says, why don't you come eat with me and my friends at our table? They like meeting new people. And while that student that I pulled up to the interactive whiteboard who dragged that little piece of text in just with their finger or the pen or whatever, I can say, why might that be a good thing to say? Why might that be a bad thing or a pretty weak thing to say? We can have a little 30-second conversation about it. That student then takes that text, drags it out of the way, and selects another person to come up to the board. Next person comes up to the board and drags this piece of text in, which says, tell them that they're making fun of themselves when they make fun of you. Again, you can have a quick little 30-second conversation about that and drag it out of the way. And these are all just little individual text boxes with no borders, and I showed you how to create those in the last lesson. Right? Somewhere around the third box, you can throw a little humor in and say, at least you don't have it as bad as the Chicago Cubs. Everyone makes fun of them, right? And you can talk about humor and why that might be a good or bad thing to throw in there at this point. And as you get towards the end, you'll be able to see, here's the bullying option, right? You can see what the last couple of text blurbs are, but that's okay, right? By that point, you've got a good conversation going, and at that point, the lesson is hopefully going where you want it to go. So how do you set this up? What is this? How do you make this, right? Well, basically all this is, I have image number 1 here of a student, which I stole just off of Google Images. Same thing with this one, Google Images. These 2 little guys here are text shapes. So in the paintbrush tool, under the shapes, the last one there is just this little kind of text bubble. Which I will just kind of put over the old one, right, just like that. If you don't want a fill on it, or if you want a different colored fill, right, you just take it and you adjust it there, right? You take that, you make a couple of one of those, or a couple of those, right? If you want just some text to plop in there, here's another response. And you'll notice that that's a little bit larger than the other ones, right? So I'm just going to take that and knock it down a little bit. And by the way, once you have one of these responses created, do the little open arrow trick and then the duplicate thing, and just duplicate a whole bunch of responses. That way you're sure that all the text is the same style, it's the same font, the same size. And you just kind of take them and you stack them on top of one another here, and when the student pulls them in, it's just going to be in some random order. Now there's one other thing I'd like to show you on this screen, and that's the difference between the teacher arrow, which is the arrow on the left, and the student arrow, which is arrow on the right. Teacher arrow on the left, notice when I take a blurb of text and drag it in, notice what I have available to me. I have the resize, I have the rotate, and I have the pull-out menu with all those other little options. 9 times out of 10, a student is not going to need access to those. So you use the student arrow, which is the second arrow, and you'll notice that, number one, it makes the canvas bigger, right? I don't have that other little toolbar there. And you'll also notice that as I click and drag on text, none of those the resize, the rotate, none of that ever pops up, which is nice. It's just a cleaner, more elegant experience for the kids, right? So as I cycle back and forth here, just kind of pay attention, and I'll try and draw your attention to it. But I will be cycling between the teacher arrow and the student arrow. Okay? Beautiful. Let's move on to another activity. This is the focus circle. This is something else that I know I've demonstrated over at Old St. Mary's. How do you create this one? It's a circle. I demonstrated that in the last lesson. Bunch of words in various text boxes. Again, we just did that a moment ago. And then I have a picture here. This one's optional. But there are a couple different ways you can use focus circle. One is if you've got a list of things to get through by 45 minutes from now, by lunchtime, let's say. You can have all of those kind of stacked on the outside of the circle, and as you're talking about those things in class, you can just drag them into the circle, right? As you're done talking about it, you pull it out, right? And the advantage of that is that if a student's attention should wander and then they look back up at the circle, right, they know exactly what topic that you're on. If a student goes to use the washroom, comes back, there's another topic in the circle, they know that you've moved on to another topic, right? If Dr. Callahan walks into the back of the room, right, she can tell based off the focus circle exactly what it is that you're discussing in class at that point. So it's a nice little, if you've got a list of topics that you have to get through, it's a nice little way of just kind of organizing, and just as a self-check for you. I've been there when I was in the classroom and I had 10 minutes left and I knew I still had 3 topics to get through. I had to make a call at that point. Either I'm going to have to rush through these and watch my time as I'm going through, or I'm going to choose to do one of those 3 and hit the rest when we come back from lunch or the next day or whatever. In this particular application of the focus circle, though, I have this set up as a vocabulary exercise. So I have a scientist over here in the upper left-hand corner, and I can ask a student to come up to the board, and I can say, okay, drag a word in to describe that scientist, or drag 2 words in. The student will drag in confident and concerned. And I can ask the student, why is that scientist? Why did you pick those 2 words for the scientist? And he or she can say, well, she looks confident because she's had a lot of experience, a lot of background, a lot of education. She's concerned because she knows that if she messes this up, there's going to be serious repercussions. And at the preschool level, you can do this with pictures, right? You just make that circle a blank circle, and you can have various pictures in here to describe the scientist, right? You can make this as easy or as complicated as you want to be. The nice thing about using the focus circle with words is that if after 5 or 6 kids you notice that every word has made it into the focus circle but one, right, chances are excellent that the students do not know what the definition of, in this case, tenacious, right? And you don't have to call anybody out at that point. You can just say, hey, I noticed nobody's brought that in yet. Let's have a quick conversation about that word. Great for content activities, a pre-test activity. Also great for a post activity where you're checking student understanding of topics of vocabulary words. So that's a focus circle, right? I'll do a real quick demonstration of that one in person if you'd like. Here's another very, very basic but very powerful tool. It's a labeling exercise. In this case here I have a map of Europe. You might choose to do map of a plant at the lower levels. This is the seed, this is the stem, this is the leaf, this is the fruit, that kind of thing. You can label anything, all right? Where did the picture come from? I did a quick little copy paste off of Google Images. I think I Googled blank European map and got this. All right. And I have countries over here on the left side. I have United Kingdom, France, Russia, Poland, Turkey, and Spain. And in the class, what I would ask each student to do is to drag with the finger or with the pen or something one of those terms over to the board, right? Or over to the proper country up at the board. And by this, I'm guaranteed that I can get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 students up and at the board inside of about 5 minutes, which is really nice, right? Adding to the interactivity of the lesson between the students. Now, with something like this, you may have a student that says, well, I think Poland is over here in Germany, right? A student doesn't know that. Maybe another student in the class does. That's okay. All you have to do is tell the students, hey, if you noticed that a student has brought in a country to the wrong spot on the map, or what you think is the wrong spot on the map, you simply, on your turn, you don't drag a new one in, but you move it over to the correct country, and that counts as your turn. Right? And that's another student then that you can get up and at the board inside that quick little span. Right? And so once again, this is great for a pre-test. You can say, hey, do my kids actually know this already? Do I have to spend a lot of time on this, a little bit of time on this, what have you. But just a very basic labeling activity. Again, it's just one image and a whole bunch of text boxes. Very powerful little lesson. Last one. Last one is called Magic Tunnel. Okay. I'm pretty sure I've demonstrated this one as well, right? This is just a review. So what I have are numbers on the left, in this case a 7, and when I drag it through this little magic tunnel, I get a 10. I take the 1, I drag it through, it becomes a 4. The 5 becomes an 8. 13 becomes 16. So it's pretty obvious that my magic tunnel adds 3, right? You can take it through the left as well. Okay. All this is, it's 2 boxes and a text box. Now I'll reveal the secret on my final slide, which is right here. All right. You don't have to do this with opposites. You can do this with words as well. Right? Excuse me, you don't have to do this with numbers, but you can do this with words as well. So this is opposites, right? Hot becomes cold. Courage becomes fear. That could be a lot of different things. And you tell the kids, hey, that could be a lot of things. This is what I chose. Lazy becomes driven. Outspoken becomes timid. Losers, opposite of losers is Chicago Bears. Excellent, right? I know that we've got a Packers fan out there somewhere, and so you can adjust that as your own classroom if you need to, I suppose. But anywho, what you can do at the end here is, as you're dragging terms over, right, just kind of have them as an in-between, so that if the students are writing these down, for example, they don't have to ask, wait, what was driven again? What was the opposite of driven? What was the opposite of outspoken? Okay. As soon as you're done with the term, you can just kind of set it in the middle. And here's the secret behind it. Ready? This is a rectangle with a colored fill. This is a rectangle with a colored fill. And all you have in between, this is a single text box. Right? This color, the color of hot, matches the color of this box. The color of cold matches this box, so that when you drag it over those particular boxes, right, the text is still there, it just appears to be invisible. And it's the same way with the magic tunnel. Right? If you drag it outside of that tunnel, you'll see pretty clearly this is just simply a single piece of text with 2 different colors. Right? And as you drag the text box over those 2 different colors, it makes it appear as though that there's some magic happening, right? And that's the goal of these lessons, right? As just a quick little demonstration there, right? I'll add a new slide after page 6, which is what that little plus button does. Okay? I'll make 2 little squares. Okay? And as I'm doing this little lesson here, I want to note that as part of the video training series here, I will make these 2 lessons available to you. So you can practice this if you want to. You can practice recreating this if you want to, but you won't have to, because again, I'll give you this exact example file here. Right? But just so you're aware, it's just so you know how it can be done. I've just created 2 sample little boxes there, and I can do something like hello, couple of spaces, goodbye. Right? I take that text and I'm going to drag it just right about there, right? And from this point forward, you just kind of highlight. So hello is what I want to be invisible on the second box, so I'm going to make hello yellow, right? And you'll notice that as I drag that over, hello kind of disappears. And over here, I want goodbye to be invisible, so I'm going to highlight goodbye right? And make it that same color of blue that I chose for the box. And now I have hello becomes goodbye, right? Very nice and easy and clean. And once you've set that up, right, with two colors that work well for you, make them two very different colors, right? Because blue on purple is not going to work for this one. Just take and duplicate a whole bunch of times so that you don't have to recreate those texts, so you don't have to keep recoloring boxes over and over and over again. At this point, this would be a real good time to do EasyTeach E in a save, and just kind of save this as your template so that you've got 5 minutes left to your lunch period. You say, boy, I'd really like to do one of those little back and forths with the text boxes after lunch. All you have to do is pull open your sample file, change the text, which takes a whole 2 minutes, right? You still got 3 minutes to finish inhaling your lunch, or make copies, whatever you have to do on your last few minutes there. But these are 4 very easy examples of lessons that you can do with RM EasyTeach that without the software and without the interactive whiteboard wouldn't really be possible in the context of a normal class, right? Not without some serious creation of manipulatives that are magnetic and lamination, things like that. But this is the real power of EasyTeach. So what I'm going to challenge you to do over the next week is to take one of these ideas and to actually use it in your classroom. All right? There are a lot of different applications for these. If you need help on any of those, I will pass along my email address. It's pete@dulaneyconsulting.com, and that will be in the presentation as well. And yeah, feel free to email. And if you have any questions on these, I will be coming to Old St. Mary's shortly, and I'll be able to help you with these in person. So until next time, have fun with RM EasyTeach and email with questions. I'll see you soon.